All right, we've got a fun one for you here today, all about Prop 19. What is it? Who can use it? How can you benefit? Keith Roby's here. What's up, Keith? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
All right, Derek.
All right. Jordan Marks is here. How you doing, Jordan?
Good to see you, Derek.
Now, Jordan is a taxpayer advocate.
That's right. I'm the assessor's taxpayer advocate.
Taxpayer advocate. So, by the way, you have an advocate here in San Diego County for you as a taxpayer, and it's Jordan.
That's the man.
So first of all, Prop 19.
Yeah.
People have probably seen this. They've heard about it. They've seen an ad for it. They've heard someone talking about it. What is it?
Well, in 2020, the voters passed what's called an initiative. That means that a group put forward an idea and enough voters signed on to it. You voted on it on the ballot, and you're like, I don't know quite what it is, but let's get it through. It sounds good enough. And it was sponsored by the California Association of Realtors, and it changed two things. It changed how parents can transfer to their kids their Prop 13 property tax base, okay, and also how seniors can move their Prop 13 property tax base with them and upgrade their lifestyle, as I like to say it, without increasing their property taxes. So there was two changes. The one that I think that most folks are being impacted by today in the market are the senior transfer portion.
Okay.
So,
and now this is a California thing then.
Yeah, so it's in the state of California. A lot of folks are like, well, I'm moving to Arizona or I'm coming in from Arizona. How do we do it? It doesn't apply. It's if you're in the state of California that it actually applies to you.
But that's still beneficial for a lot of people who are moving from San Bernardino or Riverside, or people who are even coming from up north, right? That's still helpful.
I would probably say before we get into Prop 19, it's probably good to understand Prop 13.
Okay.
So in 1978, the voters of California then passed a property tax limitation, which is Proposition 13. And it basically made home ownership in California affordable, because Prop 13 locked in your property tax rate. It said you're going to afford to pay 1% of what you purchase your property for, and that amount can go up to 2% per year. It's affordable because you can predict what your property taxes are going to be, and I know you're a fiscally responsible person, you can budget for it.
Yeah.
And as long as you can do that, you can plan your retirement. You can plan how you can retire with dignity in the state of California, because you know what your taxes are going to be every year. Before Prop 13 was passed, property taxes on your home went up each year with the market. We just saw the market jump 29% this last year. Imagine if you woke up to a property tax bill that jumped 29%. Or, in my case, and my family when we bought in 2014, our property taxes would have gone up 100%. And that was unaffordable for seniors, unaffordable for working families, and it would have eventually led to us losing our homes.
Well, I do have there's good news and there's bad news there, right? It's good news if you own a home, because then your property taxes didn't go up that much. But if you haven't bought your home yet, then they kind of did, right? Because when you buy a home, the taxes are based on the purchase price.
Right.
And that's how they start. That's the start. That's where you start.
That's right.
That's where the starting point. So if you were a potential buyer last year who didn't pull the trigger, then your property taxes are going up.
Right.
29%. And so did
If you pull the trigger now.
If
Yeah.
you do,
Well,
yeah.
I'll say this, and I get that question a lot, right? My neighbors have less tax than I pay. Is that fair? The fairness of Prop 13 is you agree at the time that you purchase it, you and the government have this agreement that I could afford to pay my property taxes.
Yeah.
So each person is qualified at their different level. Imagine the person that retired in 1980, their 401k started at a lower amount. Their salaries were less.
Yeah.
Versus the person that is entering the market today that has a higher, the person at McDonald's is making $20 an hour today versus the person 10 years ago that was making $8 an hour. They qualified at different levels, and that's the beauty of Prop 13. It allows you to enter the market, so it actually does make it more affordable. Also for the lending community, if you had to try to qualify people on a property tax that you couldn't predict, it would be much harder to qualify people to get them into home ownership today. So it provides that stability in many different ways. But what ended up happening is, if you were that person that bought a home in 1980 and you did base your retirement on your property taxes, your taxes were low. So if you bought a home for $100,000 and you're paying $1,000 a year in taxes plus that 2% increase, you could be paying $1,600 today, and you budgeted for that. But now that 5-bedroom, 3-bath home isn't what you need anymore, and you're locked in. You're afraid to move, because if you went and sold that home today and bought that same property value somewhere else, your taxes could go up $8,000 or $10,000 a year, unaffordable. Prop 19 said, hey, seniors, If you're over 55, now I do have to say this, Derek. 55 is not my definition of a senior. It is the government's definition of a senior, okay? 55, in my opinion, is the new 25. I'm just going to put that out there.
Agreed.
It's not my definition, but
Yes.
under the Constitution rules, if you're over 55, you could sell your primary residence, that 5-bedroom, 3-bath home, and buy something that fits your lifestyle, whether it's like, okay, kids are out. We want to buy a 2-bedroom, 1-bath closer to the beach. We want to live that beach lifestyle that we wanted. You can do that, and what it also does, it allows a new family to be able to move into that starter home.
And so we say your tax-based transfers, right? That's what we
Right.
say.
So let's say you sold that home in El Cajon for $1 million.
Okay.
If you bought another property for $1 million, okay, and you're paying that $1,600 that we talked about, your taxes would go to $10,000 a year. Remember, it's 1% of what you purchased. So 1% of $1 million. I went to law school. I'm an attorney. I'm not a mathematician. Don't worry, it's not terribly hard. So 1% of $1 million is $10,000. So your taxes would have gone up $8,400 a year. But because of Prop 19, you can now sell that $1 million home in El Cajon and buy $1 million place somewhere else and keep that same $1,600 that you budgeted for.
So just to be clear then, Jordan, then what we're saying is Prop 13 didn't go away.
That's right. What this did is really allow you to take Prop 13 with you. It became portable. That freedom to upgrade your lifestyle without increasing your property taxes.
And you just have to be 55 when the sale takes place.
So if you're over 55, now not everybody in the deal has to be over 55.
Okay.
And not everybody has to be a spouse. We have all these things like spouses, parent, child. It could be a significant other. It could be, hey, I'm going to buy with my kids. We see a lot of intergenerational buying. One of the people that's on title, that's their primary residence, the person that's primary residence has to be over 55, and then they can buy another place and replace their primary residence and purchase a new one. And they could bring all sorts of new folks into the deal with them. You do have 2 years to do the deal. So you have 2 years to buy or sell and buy.
So you don't have to then sell your house first. You could actually buy the replacement first.
That's right, Keith. You know, I'll tell you, Keith's a fantastic realtor, and the Roby company, they're strategic for their clients. So I know what you're really thinking is, hey, it's a tough market right now. How do you tell somebody to sell and buy something when you don't know it's going to be there? So you're probably thinking, how do I take my client to go buy something and then sell? You have that flexibility in the transaction. It's a great realtor thinking for you right there. And so that allows you to actually be strategic in the market. So there is some strategy to how you apply it. That's why you need a professional, like a great realtor like Keith, to help you through that process.
And you said just one person on title needs to be 55.
Yes.
It needs to be their primary residence. They need
That's
to live
right.
there and occupy the property. Do they need to be on the loan, or is it just on title?
It's on title.
Just on title.
Yeah, but what we are seeing is that because families want to stay together, we're seeing a really challenging market where your kids are going to university in another state. They're finding job opportunities and a vision for buying a home in that other state. A lot of families are like, how do I bring you back to California, right? So then they said, well, why don't we sell our primary residence and buy something bigger where mom and dad, they want to be grandma and grandpa, they move to the back casita, and then the main residence can be occupied by the kids. You can do that even if the loan is only under grandma and grandpa's name, or the loan could be under the kid's name, but as long as it's the primary residence for the person when they sell their home and purchase the new one, they qualify.
Oh, so they don't even need to be on title, just needs to be their primary
They
residence?
need to be on title,
They
yeah.
do need to be
Yeah.
on title and their primary
That
residence.
says to us that that's your home, yeah.
Gotcha.
And so
Okay.
how many times can they do that, Jordan?
Well, it's great. Prop 19 was a change in the law that said, hey, you used to be able to only do it one time. Now you can do it 3 times. And what's wonderful about it is at 55, your life changes than when you're at 65, and your life changes, or when you're at 75. And now you're thinking, how do I change from that 3-story townhome to that ranch-style property? I don't have to walk up the stairs. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. Plus, I'll tell you sometimes, you're like, oh, I've always wanted to live in, I had this happen, I wanted to live in the mountains. I'm going to move to Alpine. And they moved from OB. And they suddenly 6 months later are like, we miss the beach lifestyle. Before, you could only do it one time, and so you were, kind of like stuck.
Yeah.
Now you have a lot of more flexibility to say, hey, I want to find the right place. And this really gives you that great flexibility to upgrade your lifestyle without increasing your property taxes. So again, I'm just going to recap real quick. 55 plus, you have 2 years to do the deal. And again, it has to be your primary residence where you live. and you have to replace it with another primary residence.
Okay, primary residence to primary residence.
Yeah.
And have to be 55 and on title. And if you are, and you can go from county to county.
That's right. That was actually another major change, is that before you were limited in which counties and you had to guess and you had to know. Now they made it statewide. In fact, one of the other benefits that the realtors made happen here was we saw a lot of fire victims that were locked into their counties. For example, we had a fire up north that equivalent of the city of San Marcos had been lost in a fire.
Wow.
And you think about that. If we lost San Marcos today, where would all those families move? They'd be stuck. And so this made it statewide. You can take that low tax base. So for the seniors, they get the benefit after 55. For wildfire victims, flood victims, if you're in Santa Barbara and those floods hit you, or you're in Northern California and the fires, we had a lot of folks move to San Diego and say, hey, we're going to make this our home now. And they were not punished. They got to bring their tax base that they have at their home with them.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who aren't 55 yet,
Yes.
but have, bought a place and had it for,
Now
15, 20 years.
That doesn't mean go and marry somebody that's 55 or go start dating somebody. 55 is going to be a hot ticket. Swipe right, not 55. I don't know.
You can set your parameters to 55
But
plus.
let's say your parents move in with you.
Yeah.
You're not 55, and they come with you on title, and they say that that's their primary residence. You can have mom and dad use that benefit, and it doesn't count against your 3 times either.
Interesting.
So there's intergenerational kind of strategies to be working here.
I'm telling you, I see a lot of folks getting creative to keep their families together here in San Diego. You wish it wasn't that hard, and really across the state of California. But Encinitas, you got great school districts, and a lot of families can't afford it. So you have, we had a couple the other day. Grandma was living in Long Beach. She had a very low tax base. She was paying $5,000 a year, or the equivalent of $500,000. Home was worth $2 million. Would have been paying $20,000 a year if you replaced that in the property in the market today. She sold her home, moved in with the family down here in Del Cerro. They bought a $2 million home that could fit grandma, kids, and the parents too. She wanted to keep the parents. I don't know, And so they got a $2 million home, and they kept the tax base at $5,000.
Wow.
That's great.
It made it affordable to keep the families together.
Let's talk about logistics for a second. Specifics. Like, okay, sounds good. You've got me sold. We're going to utilize it. How does it actually work? And we'll talk from a lending standpoint too, I guess, on that. But I have to buy the house first, right, before I can apply for the transfer, right? I can't transfer the taxes so that it's seamless when I purchase.
Right.
Isn't that right?
So how's it done? Our office, I'll tell you, first and foremost, the number one thing that we do at your San Diego County Assessor Recorder Clerk's office, I'm going to give us a little plug, is great customer service. We get customer service
That's true.
cards.
It's true.
We have a
It is true.
98% positive customer service rating. We care about that first and foremost. Now, I think you're asking, hey, in some counties, they're having trouble processing these 19 applications. I think we just saw in LA, they haven't processed one of them. San Diego, we're doing it. We're getting it done. And we're doing it efficiently. But it's not a simple process of just putting numbers on paper and stamping it and putting it in the system. We have to go out and appraise each deal. So when you sell your property, we have to go and make sure that what you sold it for was a fair and open market transaction. That's the real value. Nobody got an inside deal, right? You're not selling to cousin Vinny for $100,000 and we're only gonna pay $1,000 a year. No, we set the value on the property at what it's worth in the market, but we assume that when you're doing things with great realtors or great escrow and great title, everybody's doing it on the up and up, right? So we have to go and check the deal, both the sale and the purchase. And if we're transferring them from another county, we have to say, hey, that other county is going to send us the value of that property. So it can take 6 to 9 months to process these, but don't worry, the application itself is very easy. After you've completed both the sale and purchase, or the purchase and sale, whichever way you want to do it, you can then fill out, it's a 1-page application on our website at sdarcc.com. But if you have a great realtor like Keith, he's going to have that paper for you. We need a copy of government ID showing that at least one person's over 55 that's on the deal. And then you file that it's your primary residence. And after that, it's seamless. One tax bill cycle, it all gets caught up. And then if there's any difference, maybe you had to pay a little bit extra in that period, you get refunded your money. And then going forward,
You're good to go.
it's
Done.
smooth
So the
sailing.
process is pretty easy, really.
1-page application at the end of escrow. It should be very easy. And our office, like you said, you had a great smile on your face when you talked about your experience with our office.
Yeah.
number one feedback item we get is please take over the DMV. We're really good at customer service.
Well, people will call with tax questions. You know, they get tax bills sometimes and stuff like that. Say, hey, I just tell them, call the number on there. Someone will answer the phone,
Yeah.
and they'll answer your questions.
And
they'll
they
do
will.
it very quickly.
Yeah.
They've done it for me every time I've called for years. So it's great to be able to tell people that, you know, and say, hey, don't worry, this isn't a place where you're going to call and get the runaround or caught in some
Sit
tree.
on hold.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. So we really appreciate that.
We
by the way.
do.
It's huge.
Of course.
And I guess the point I was trying to make there, bringing that up, is that from a lending standpoint, you'll need to qualify with the fully taxed, you know, rate.
Yes.
And then you'll be able to, after purchasing and your sale having been completed, both transactions need to be done and
Yeah, so
completed.
some people
Then you
try
can
to
do it.
say, hey, can you pre-qualify us and then we can lower how much our mortgage is going to be every month. The mortgage rate will get adjusted after we qualify you, but you have to finish the purchase of both the sale and purchase in order to get that done and completed.
Yeah, so that's one thing just to kind of keep in mind,
Yeah.
that this is going to be part of the process. It's like we talked about with the disabled veteran benefit. You know,
Yeah.
you have to buy, you know, and then own the home, and then once you own the home, then you can apply for the exemption to get the reduction. in cost.
And just to catch up the folks out there in TV land, we have what's called a 100% VA rated disabled tax benefit. If you're 100% VA rated disabled or the surviving spouse of that person that served our country, you can get your property taxes lowered, really not as a benefit, but as a thank you. I mean, these are the folks that lost a limb, lost an eye, Agent Orange, just, they really gave a lot for our country. But sometimes they'll call in advance and say, hey, I have all the paperwork, but I need to get the reduction. We can't reduce your tax liability until you actually make the purchase of the home.
Right.
And then your mortgage gets reduced. And the reason they want to do that is because if they can show that their tax liability is less, then they can have more purchase power.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about with Prop 13. Without that, well, you know, try to guess how to qualify somebody for what their taxes are going to be. It's just going to be terrible in this market. I mean, especially when you saw a 29% jump in last year alone.
I know.
So we need to protect Prop 13. We need to take care of our veterans and seniors. You got a great benefit here.
Yeah,
You know,
do.
find the professional that will help you right-size your life, that will help get you to where you want to be. So that way, you're retiring with dignity. That's what this is about.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And so if we can say, hey, you're going to have affordable property taxes because you can budget for it. You can know that you can afford it and you're not going to lose your home. People sleep better at night. I mean, we have a tough homeless situation here in San Diego County. If we didn't have Prop 13, if we lost that today, we would have a very serious problem with seniors on the streets.
Really?
So Prop
Yes.
13 is not going away then, huh, Jordan?
Well, you know, every couple of years it comes back and people say, hey, we need more revenue to help the homeless. And I say at some point we need to make sure people can afford to retire in dignity in their homes so that way they're not homeless.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Prop 13 is important, but also for the incoming home buyer, know that it is an important tool to make sure you can afford that home as well. So that way the lender can say, hey, we know that we can trust that you can pay your mortgage.
And this is something that is really just a benefit to homeowners because it's a primary residence type situation. So
For Prop 19, yeah, that's
you-
right.
You know, so it's not like this is helping the rental market. And the reason why I say that, obviously, as a home ownership advocate, is that, you know, owning a home, here's one of those benefits. You know, in the long run, you get to have these reduced housing costs.
Yeah.
And that's something to not be overlooked in a high-cost area like San Diego. And I think the world is just starting to realize that San Diego is one of the best places to be, to live, to have fun in the world. You know, and that's why we're seeing with the remote working culture that's taking place, lots of people are flocking here.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, is going to continue. So just another reason added to the list to be a homeowner for your long-term financial security.
Yeah.
85% of our property owners here in San Diego County enjoy Prop 13 protections. And so it's a big deal in making
is.
sure that you can afford to live, work, and thrive here in San Diego County.
And it just has to be primary residence, right, for that to be the case?
Actually, for our small business owners, you know, if you're that, we all love that donut shop that's been in the community for 40 years or that taco shop that's been there. And it's an even better story if they bought their property, because then you know that their wealth for their family, that opportunity for the small business owners there, they get to enjoy that as well.
No kidding.
Yeah, and so it's important. I mean, the same way that you try to afford your home, the small business owner tries to afford their rent. And if they had that fortitude to say, I'm going to be in this community, I'm going to invest and own my property. We know when people own their properties, they take better care of their community. And that's one of the great things of home ownership. Sometimes you can drive down the block and know who's renting and who owns. It's not always the case, but there is a pride of home ownership when you have an investment in your property, in your community. And that same thing goes for the small business owner and for our folks that provide jobs here. You know, every time that they can predict what their rent's going to be, they know that they can hire somebody else. They know that they can expand and do a better job for our community. And that's an important part of our ecosystem.
100%.
Yeah.
Keith, do you have any other questions for Jordan?
I think he covered me.
You did, right?
Yeah, he did.
Well, I'm not going to, I don't want to understate how important it is to have a professional that understands Prop 19 and all the aspects related to it. There are a lot of nuances, right? I didn't get into, but we talked about commercial. If you're growing something on your property for sale purposes, let's say tomatoes at a farmer's market, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know some folks mind rant something else, right? Okay, but if you actually use like an ADU or a back home for a commercial purpose, that doesn't count towards how much you can carry over. There's certain restrictions and rules, but having a great professional like Keith or folks in the market that have taken the time to invest and understand the rules, they're going to make sure you're maximizing your savings and getting the most out of your benefit and understanding, okay, what happens when I transfer once to the next one? I mean, but I just want seniors today to know they have a great benefit out there. They should be talking to the realtors. They shouldn't be afraid that they're locked into their home because they're afraid of their taxes going up.
Yeah.
You have a great opportunity to move about freely, to find what's right for you and your family. I mean, it's a lot when you think about it. You're like, oh, the kids are gone, dog's gone, we want to travel. Okay, you don't want a 2-acre property anymore. You know, you want to say, hey, Fallbrook, we loved you, but now we want to go to Oceanside and get something that's a condo. It might cost the same amount, but that ability to take that lower taxes with you means that you can retire with dignity. That's important here. It's important to me as your taxpayer advocate at the assessor's office. It's important to our office and the state of California.
Your taxpayer advocate, ladies and gentlemen, right
He's the
here,
man.
Jordan Marks. You can see he's advocating, doing a great job, Jordan. We really appreciate the work you're doing in the community.
course.
Keith, thank you for bringing him in here today. This has been amazing. Guys, share this video with your friends on your social media. Let's help make sure they are smarter than everyone else.